Hello GSV peeps and dangly peeps and anyone else who's stumbled across this channel here. Dangly Bob here, and I'm playing a little bit of Kerbal Space Program. Why, you say? Well, more about a bit of that later, and should I buy it, you say? And more a bit about that later. But as you can see, I'll just have a quick look through the site here. I've got a mission here for collecting some science off of Ike. Didn't really get a chance to see that, but there we go. Ike is a moon around Duna. And Duna, if you like, is the Kerbal equivalent found Mars. So that's where we're off to. Only have to collect some science. It has no atmosphere, so we are just going to land a probe on it and see how that goes. Now, as I said, you can probably spot I'm playing this video back at about 3 times the speed I actually played it, which means the voiceover is going to be a little bit disjointed, with my normal ramblings anyway. Only because I find this a little bit difficult to comment on at the same time as I'm playing because of stuff and things going on. But here we go. And we'll also find that actually, as I'm commenting on this, I'm going to tell you a bit about the Kerbal Space Program and should you buy it or not. I am quite late to this, but we are going to just. This is a rocket I sent a probe to Eve on. Now Eve is a lot easier to get to than I'm not going to swap anything over. I'm just going to chuck all this extra fuel and stuff and get to Duna just while I'm talking about other stuff as well. So we're going to go for the launch and off we go. So Kerbal Space Program, as you can see, it's a crafting sort of making thing. It's very geeky. The physics of it and the maths behind it is all quite technical, but you don't have to know a lot of it about it, but you know a lot more about it once you've been playing it for a few hours. As you can see, I'm playing with a few mods. There's McLeod, which means I don't actually have to fly this thing. I can fly them, and when I do some later videos I may get round to sort of showing you I can fly it by hand. Just clicking a few extra F keys there to make little lines pop up. I didn't quite understand what I was doing there. Actually, a lot of this game I don't quite understand what I'm doing, but you get there in the end. Luckily there's quick saves and quick loads that if you make a mistake, provided you saved not so long ago, there is also saving as well for times when you forget to quick save. You can usually recover it back. As I said, it's an incredibly realistic space simulation. Little Kerbals, little sort of green men, frog things, and yeah, what you can see me doing on the screen there is just trying to set up, because you can't just blast off to a planet. It's a little bit more technical than that. You have to wait for a transfer window, and I'm trying to use Kerbal alarm clock here to do that. So I've set myself up as and then I'm going to fast forward to a point where we are going to get a Kerbal window. Now to do that from this screen here is a little bit long, so we'll probably have to go back to the space tracker radar-y place in a minute. And fast forward some time. So yeah, other McLeod alarm clock. That's the another mod I've got there. I've got something called Planet Shine, which just allows me to increase the brightness. So you'll see me sort of tweak with that a little bit later. Only just installed it. Don't really know what it does. So yeah, still learning on that one. We've got Kerbal Engineer, and that's going to make life a lot easier with trying to calculate how much fuel and stuff, and I do it properly. This, by the way, is a video of definitely not how to do it properly. You'll see some mistakes and such like, but don't follow what I do by any means. Now I think what we're doing now here is because I had are we circularizing? I think we are circularizing, which just basically means you're going into making yourself go into full orbit. And all the other, trying to think of the other mods I've got. There's a mission one, which allows you to access what missions you've got without having to pop back to the space centre to do it as well. Now, excuse me 1 minute, while McLeod is there. It allows you to sort of do manoeuvre plans. It will sort of auto-land some things for you and auto-ascend some things for you. There's a rover autopilot there as well, and a bunch of other stuff which, to be honest, I haven't a clue. But this smart ASS is a very easy way of keeping the craft pointed in the right direction as to what you want, and then you don't have to actually do it now. So here we are back in the tracker station here. and from here I can fast forward time for it's about a year and a half. Yeah, by the way, 365 days is not a Kerbal year, it's about 400 something. So yeah, year and a half, spin it round, and I'm going to cut this bit and bring you back to when we're there. And that is now a year and a half gone. So now we are going to pop back into, I popped out of there, pop back into there, we're going to fly back to our spaceship. So we have our Duna window. So this is the prime time according to alarm clock, though I'm not sure I've actually got it right. Just ejecting the cowling or the fairing there, because you want to get rid of as much weight as you can. And something's gone wrong with my staging there as well. That was supposed to be sort of asparagus stage, so we're supposed to have dropped off a couple of tanks, but we hadn't. And now I think what I need to do is obviously just get out of Kerbin. So I'm just going to try and arrange, say using McLeod, you can use this pork choppy thing to find out. But those who spotted that actually it's wanted me to wait another couple of years, I think, before we get before it starts the burn. And I'm not sure I've used a Kerbal alarm clock right there. But I'm looking at the picture, I know the transfer window is when Duna is about 45 degrees out from you, when you measure an angle between you, the sun, and Duna. That's supposed to be the transfer window, so I'm just going to wing this. We've got lots of DV, lots of spare fuel anyway. Ditched off some of those tanks. We ditched off, nearly broke something there I saw, but yeah, ditch off some of those tanks. Now we're carrying a lot of this weight, which gives us a lot more space. Don't know quite why this thing's not pointing the way. We've settled down now. Right, so prograde, retrograde. There's lots of it. If you don't understand these terms, I can perhaps go through them in later videos, but there are plenty of other videos out there, albeit they are for older versions, but the terms never change. Anyway, so we are burning prograde. So we're trying to push our apoapsis out to an escape velocity, and so at this point here I've noticed I'm pushing it the wrong way. You could perhaps go the other way, because actually now we're going to eject ourselves behind Kerbin instead of towards the planet, but we'll see how this goes. And there we go, there I am on an escape from Kerbin, which will put me in an orbit around the moon, and then we can transfer our orbit around the sun, and we can transfer then our orbit to Duna. And I'm just doing that, I'm just simply using this maneuver planner, pump it out, and those two white triangles show me my closest point of approach, so I'm trying to get them as close as possible. Go on, hit on that, yes, pull that out. This took a little bit of fiddling to do, it always does. It's very satisfying when you do it yourself, rather than just trusting McLeod to work it all out for you. And actually you can sometimes get some better results by tweaking it yourself. Plus you can usually stumble across things like what do they call them, when you slingshot around planets and such like, and use them to assist you as such. Then by tweaking that rather than just punching a button and letting the computer work it all out, means that you can perhaps work out a way of increasing the amount of fuel you've got, saving fuel and time and such like. So I've just about got myself a point there where it's fairly close. And I can, once I've burnt that, got that trajectory, I can burn a little bit closer and get it a little bit easier for myself. So all I'm doing here is just changing the orbit, burning sort of prograde and radial, just to get the closest point of approach in a reasonable position. But as I said, I've struggled here a bit, so I'm going to tweak it out, and then once I've got it out, I'll bring you back. So as you can see from this bit here, actually, because I'd shot myself out backwards, we're now going to have another closest point of approach, if you like, coming now back forwards and receiving a little bit of a slingshot maybe from Kerbin, our home planet, but not a lot. And this maneuver node here, again, it's shuffled me around a little bit. I'm just going to burn this one off. As you can see, I've got about 1800 meters per second there to burn. Increase my speed. It's mainly prograde we're burning there, We're going to stage it about halfway through it. Now this next stage, this is a mainsail engine here, which is fairly powerful and accelerates us fairly quickly. But the next stage we've got is on the nuclear engines, and a nuclear engine is a lot more efficient, but it's a lot less powerful. Its ISP is a lot, I can't remember if it's higher or lower, but it's the difference between, say, running the Ferrari of a mainsail engine, and now we've jumped into our little mini metro, and we're struggling to get the same acceleration out of it. As you can see down at the bottom there, you know, these burn times are quite large. That was a 5-minute burn time there. Well, we've just flicked through again. You can see I'm just about coming to the end of that burn, and even that we're using something called physics warp, which allows us to accelerate a lot more. Just coming up to the PE's periapsis. As we accelerate, then we'll just finish off this burn here, and we'll find out where that has left us on our approach to a. Just notice as well. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I've got the solar panels out. But I can't remember. I think I probably pulled up the utilities menu there on McLeod rather than separately extending each solar panel. I don't know. A useful thing, aerials and solar panels from the utilities menu there. So you can see now we are in, we're back in Kerbin's sphere's influence. We're being sort of covered by gravity, being pulled along by gravity. Planet's called her? Anyway, but we're going to get shot out of the way. Now, if I'd planned it properly, if we'd planned our escape to leave the other side of Kerbin, we wouldn't have had to do this bit. Probably saved ourselves some fuel and some what we call DV energy, whatever you need. There we go. Bye-bye Kerbin. Looks a lot like Earth, as you can see, and the moon. Kerbin, by the way, has 2 moons, Minmus as well, which is a lot easier to get to, but don't really clock that if you don't read a few things before you start playing it. And now we are going to have a look at, focus on there. I've just realised actually we did have an encounter, but we haven't quite got the encounter there. So what I'm doing here is I'm just tweaking the next manoeuvre node just to try and get an encounter with Duna, which then we can tweak to get the encounter with Duna's moon Ike. And I've got to a little bit above here, so we've got to just tweak prograde and not prograde, normal and anti-normal. That's the up and down, if you like, of a, just to get an encounter. We've got an encounter for Duna there, and we can now zoom in to or focus on Duna itself and see where that projected path is going to take us. As you can see, it's not particularly close, so I can tweak it from here to. So here we are now, time warping towards Duna itself, and you can see I've got managed to wrangle quite a close periapsis, and the problem I might have is we're doing what, 3,400 meters per second, which means that I've got to do quite a bit of slowing down to get an orbit. Now I did have a go at seeing, well, if I went this way, I could get an encounter straight with Ike, and I wouldn't have to sort of go around. I thought, well, that might be a more achievable thing to do, but as it was, I think that I was going way too fast for the gravity of Ike to have an effect on me, and I ended up going back again and saying, okay, well, let's do a capture around Duna, slow my speeds down with that, use less fuel to do that. But here's me trying to wrangle my capture around Ike, and I could get into Ike's sphere of influence fairly easily, but then to slow down, just particularly on an equatorial orbit, you always want to go with an equatorial orbit, but it just cost way too much. So, yes, so is KSP worth getting? KSP2 round the corner, but Squad are doing a brilliant job of supporting KSP, and we don't quite know. We've got a fair idea of what KSP2 is going to be like, but we don't quite know what the modding world's going to be like. Are you going to be able to put all these extra whistles and bells onto it? or are we going to end up with something that's a little bit more stringent to what the original KSP was? So yes, I would say, particularly as I said, you can get KSP for a reasonable price. I think on Steam I said it's about 20 something pounds, but G2A.com I think it has for about £6 or less, and the two DLCs, the Breaking Ground and the historical downloadable pack, they are certainly worth getting. I wouldn't get them straight away. I'd get the box standard KSP, have a play with it, see if it pulls your chain, and if it does, that's not the right euphemism, is it? Pulls your chain. If it floats your boat, there we go. Let's go for that one. Floats your boat. Also, I've just noticed I was going to talk about, if anyone, that I had a few problems because I didn't put a decent aerial on this thing. Our signal strength is next to minimal there. See up in that top left-hand corner there. So I had to, it was a little bit chunky on what we could actually tweak before coming into Duna, and I've already got a satellite around Duna already on a previous mission. But sorry, off track here. What are we talking about? KSP. Yes, I would highly recommend, if you think this is going to appeal to you, for said £6 for a Steam key from G2A or any of the other sites out there, certainly worth thinking about grabbing that. And if you fancy it, I think you get the downloadable, the DLC packs, the extra bits at a reasonable price. But I've enjoyed this game so much, I just went on Steam and paid the full price for it. Big thumbs up for Squad, keeping this supported, even though KSP 2 is just around the corner. So what you can see here is, I don't know what's happened here. Looks like it's stalled. No, it hasn't. I am burning, yes, and as you can see, even though it looks like I'm not doing anything, actually I am actually trying to slow myself down even before we enter the sphere of influence of hike. And we have 3,500 meters per second to lose. We are doing 3,900 meters per second, and looking at down in the tank there, the little preview screen is not very clear, but I've only got something like 3,500 meters per second in this stage. And when you look at the craft in a minute, you'll see that actually it's only the nuclear fuel stage, and then I'm just into the whatever I've got on the little satellite itself. But this is actually, it's just, you see that, it's just, this is about the point. I've realised that I did not have enough Delta V, I did not have enough fuel. So instead I went back to plan A, and we decided, here we are, now I've changed my mind, and I'm now doing slowing down enough to go around Duna itself, and then once we've got Duna down, I can then sort of play around with what little DV I've got to get a capture and an orbit around Ike, so I can release my probe and we can land on Ike and collect this bit of science I'm supposed to be getting. And it was as I was slowing down here, I realised, oh, hang on, Ike is going to give us if I slow down enough, I can use, get a capture from Ike. And it looked like we almost even had an orbit around Ike until I slowed down enough to get a full orbit around Duna. So at this point here, I went prograde and burnt back again at a slightly slower speed, slower as in relative for a nuclear engine, and got a funny little wiggle here. I'm thinking, right, well, if I have a little wiggle here, now I can use 100 meters per second change in velocity here to get a capture around Ike. So this is what I mean, that not just plugging it through the computer and tweaking with the manoeuvre nodes yourself, knowing a little bit about orbital mechanics, and you end up with this rather fancy little circle, or orbit as we call them in the trade. Yes, yeah. Now as I come to slow down here and burn the orbit right down to a minimum, I'm looking at how much DV we've got, actually how much fuel we've got. So you measure fuel in DV, because depending on the size of the spacecraft you're trying to change. Obviously it depends, little tiny probe you'll see in a minute requires very little fuel, but for the same DV as this big nuclear engine that I'm pretty much just flying around just for the sake of flying the nuclear engine around. But what I'm trying to do now is, just because I don't have a very good aerial on this, I want to try and keep as much distance myself and the communication satellite as possible. So I'm just normalising or equaling I want to get the inclination of my orbit the same as the communication satellite, and that DunaSat there. So just by burning sort of normal or anti-normal, I can never remember which one's which. It just means I'm in the same plane as that, so that the satellite will be passing overhead rather than trying to go at a different angle around this moon. And once I've done that, I will be burning retrograde just to try and lower my periapsis, or lower that orbit so it's close enough to the moon that I can do a controlled landing. As you can see, as I'm burning retrograde there, the predicted orbit actually clips into the moon, which means, we would, if I carried around this orbit, crash into the surface, which is what I'm planning to do, but under sort of a more controlled circumstance. As you can see, just time warping around, always trying to learn something, definitely, but always try and land on the light side of the moon when you're filming for YouTube and such like, because it just makes life a lot easier to see what's going on, not just for YouTube, but actually when it comes to landing, particularly if you are doing a manual landing, it just makes a lot more sense for you to land where you've got the best visibility. Trying to land on the dark side of any planet when you don't have the actual visual cues such as the orbit, the what's that thing on the ground? Oh, the shadow, that's the thing. It just becomes a lot more difficult. So what we're doing here is, I'm obviously planning on not perhaps landing totally securely, so stowing away a couple of my solar panels just for safekeeping. We'll keep a couple down there because I can't remember whether I put a battery on this probe or not. And even though I haven't burnt all that fuel off, I don't really want this big thing. It just makes things a little bit more ungainly. And now, as you can see, actually I have got nearly 2,000 DV just in that tiny little fuel tank I've got this tiny little probe, because there's just no weight to this thing at all. I can't remember how much this probe is. It's got these tiny little landing legs, and the idea is it'll land on these little landing legs. Well, the landing legs are sprung by the way, so they absorb a little bit of energy as you land. And at this point here, I'd realised that actually it looks a bit slopey down there. There's a nice. Just trying to watch that. I totally missed it landing. I don't know whether I'd see an explosion at this sort of height anyway. We're at 6,000 meters, 6 kilometers off the surface. It doesn't look that much. But I'm just sort of going to tootle across this higher ground over here because it looks like it's a little bit flatter. And obviously, I don't want to be in the shadow of a mountain or whatever when either the sun or the satellite comes over for communication purposes. So actually our satellite signal at the moment, looking at that top left hand corner, looks really good. So the sooner I can get this down. If you lose satellite signal anywhere, it doesn't mean to say you lose, you just get some limited capability for your satellite. So as I was approaching Duna, for instance, I could do a full burn or I could shut the burn off. I couldn't tweak it. I couldn't plan maneuver nodes to a certain extent. So I could just point in one of the main 6 directions and do full burns. So I'm quite pleased with myself for getting as close as I did. And at this rate, things are going really well. Even though I didn't really plan this mission, I just put in lots of fuel, managed to counter for that's going the wrong way. As you can see, I'm trying to use the smart ASS here. Try and avoid it calling smart arse, but the smart ASS is pointing me in certain directions to make it easier rather than me having to tweak it on the nav ball, which can be a little bit. Well, it depends how au fait you are with the keyboard, and I just I haven't had that much practice to be able to do this with it. But as we're coming down, we're just checking our speed with our little, I can't say a spark engine this is. It generates very little power, but we have a very little spaceship here. We don't really want to put anything too big on it because the extra weight overcomes the benefits of the extra power. And we're doing really well here. I took ourselves off the Smart ISS and put it onto SAS then because I thought, I just want to tickle over this, the slightly flatter bit over there. As I tried to point myself over there, which I could have done is derated the engine. It's a trick you can do if your engine, this little spark, a little blast on full power, and it sends it rocketing off, which is almost too much for what I want, certainly for landing. But I completely forgot about derating the engine, reducing its maximum power. So at this point here, I start losing it. I start blasting just to sort of keep off the ground. So trying to make sure at this low down the turning rate, because the reaction wheels and the satellite are a little bit too tight. So anyway, while we're coming towards the end of this video, as I come in for a nice soft landing, I'd just like to thank a few of the guys who've been out there and have helped me learn with the Kerbal space program. One of those is McLeod, Lowne. Go check out his channel. He has got he's got a brilliant imagination, has a brilliant way of coming up with aircraft and such like, has a much better understanding. He himself says he's not very good at the game, and then pulls off some spectacular stuff, so it's definitely worth going checking his channel out. He is still producing stuff with this latest. As I film this, we're on version 1.9. He is producing sort of weekly videos, definitely worth checking out, as well as some of his feature-length films. There's the Duna Attacks and Green Harvest, and there was another one as well that I can't remember off the top of my head, but these are full featuring things he's edited up. Absolutely brilliant guy. Don't know him personally, please don't take it that way, but if he ever stumbles in this, I'll surely give him a wave. But anyway, huge thanks to him for helping me. I'm starting to lose this, as you can see. And people like Scott Manley. Scott is an immensely knowledgeable person who knows everything there is to know about sort of satellites and space, and some of his instructional videos on how to do things in Kerbal Space Program are the best out there. So rather than me trying to tell you how to do them badly, go over his channel and find out how to do them well. And it looks like I am going to crash and burn on this, and at this point here I can't revert back to the seem to have got away with it. Yeah, we're bouncing. I'm struggling to get I've lost my cursor on the screen there as well. I can't point at anything else. But luckily the gravity on Ike is so small. I've broken off those solar panels again, so I retracted the rest, and I've managed to get myself onto the Smart IS and go up. Because the gravity is so small, I realise that actually the reaction wheels are enough to bring me back up and put me on my legs. So I could have cut to this and said, look at this, I could have closed those two solar panels up. I could close up broken solar panels. At this point here, I noticed that I did put an aerial. I put one of these sort of, this is a really good aerial, and this would have quite happily got me signalled back to Kerbal without any problem at all, but I completely forgotten I'd rigged it. And this is what happens when you try and use a probe you built before and you forget what you've got on it. So I said, I don't know what I've got in the way of batteries on it. So there's the science experiments, and that's going to be, once I've sent that off to Kerbal, that will have been that bit of a thing finished. So thanks a lot for joining me. This is my attempt at a cinematic zoom out on the mouse wheel. Yes. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please come back and see me soon. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like, and we'll see you all in the next one.